I was gonna do the thing where I start down here and like come up like normal, like this, but I noticed you can see my jelly guy and I just started playing with him, so I got distracted. Okay, really quick, before we get started, I don't think I have to say this, but just in case I do, never do anything I do or do the things I talk about doing in my videos, because like, for example, today we're gonna be talking about eating rocks, and I don't want someone to like go and say, oh, you said rocks tasted like whatever, but they actually taste like whatever else, and then they get a communicable disease from like licking a rock or something, and nobody has a good time. So don't do that. Anyway, now that I'm no longer legally responsible for what you do or do not do, we just finished playing through Star Fox Adventures on this channel. Now, for the purpose of this video, I'm not going to expect that you've watched that entire series or even that you've played the game yourself. You can come into this video without any of that prerequisite, but what you do need to know is that Star Fox Adventures is a game that plays more like Zelda than like Star Fox. And what that means is, as you go through the game, you collect a bunch of different items. Some of them are like key items, some of them are consumable, some of them you use to change the landscape so that you can progress, stuff like that. As we were going through the game and collecting those items, I mentioned on multiple occasions, for some reason, that some of those items looked tempting to put in my mouth. Actually, I think including and up to the second to last video, I was saying there was something that looked tempting, to me anyway, to put in my mouth. Why do like key items in video games look delicious? Am I the only one? I mean, like, maybe I'm out of my mind. Maybe I could not be the one to save Dinosaur Planet. My hungry ass would have eaten the spellstones. Now, in some cases, the items that you get are food. They're like meant to be consumable. But as you just saw, I was saying that about rocks and metal. So what I've decided to do is make my free will your problem and create a Star Fox Adventures items I would put in my mouth tier list. Do you ever sometimes like say a sentence and you kind of just back up for a second and are like, what happened in my life to make this what I have to say in this moment? That just happened for me right now. Okay, so instead of going back and forth like 18 times, I'm just gonna show you how this is gonna work by doing the first item on our list, which I purposely put this here because I wanted it to be the first item on the list. We're gonna look at the Alpine route. So I've got two tabs open. I've got the tier list tab, and then I've also got the Star Fox Adventures fandom wiki open, which is basically just a listing of all of the items that you can find in Star Fox Adventures. Now, I'm not going to be doing every item on this list because there's some that are just like containers, for example, and those would just go in the no interest category anyways, so they're not really interesting to talk about in my mind. So for the Alpine route, we'll quickly open this page. I'll look at any information I want to see about it. What I'm seeing immediately is that this thing is beetroot shaped. Now, this is not like an official game source necessarily, but seeing that it's shaped like a beetroot basically tells me that this item is modeled after a beetroot. So it probably is just a beetroot. Would I put a beetroot in my mouth? I'd wash it off first, but yeah, of course I would, because it's food. You can eat that. So of course I would, because it's got that like tough outer shell, kind of like a melon, right? It's got an outer shell situation, but the inside is probably softer, and you can cut through it with your teeth. I don't know if I'm describing that right, but it's satisfying. So yes, I would absolutely put that item in my mouth. Now, while I'm here, I should probably talk about the rest of the categories that we have. So the absolutely would category, it's pretty self-explanatory, right? Like, I would absolutely put this item in my mouth, no questions asked, no other consideration, really. Second category, and yes, I will put this Alpine route back when I'm done, is for unpleasant or dangerous, but still, yes, I would put it in my mouth. So we're looking at stuff here that is either going to taste bad or could possibly hurt me, but I would still put it in my mouth for either curiosity's sake or because I'm dumb. Basically, this category is the litmus test for whether Darwinism should have taken you out already. Next category is no interest. So this is for stuff that, could I put it in my mouth? Yeah, of course I could. Do I want to? Do I have any urge to either taste it or get a mouthfeel situation from it? Probably not. So it's not that I couldn't, it's that I just don't really have an interest in it. I don't really want to. And then finally, last category is absolutely not. I don't know how populated this category is going to be, to be perfectly honest, but this is for stuff that I'm either repulsed by, scared of, ethically against, I don't know. Just where the answer is no. It's not a I'm not interested in it situation, it's a I do not want to do that type situation, you know what I mean? So those are our categories. Again, beetroot is going in absolutely would because it is totally benign. It's basically food on its own. So yeah, it lives in the absolutely would category. I should probably also say that the discussion about whether I would eat something versus just put it in my mouth is kind of going to be a per item basis. So we'll just discuss that as we go. But this chart is basically just, would I put it in my mouth? Ingesting and putting in my mouth, in my mind, are two different things. Anyway, next up, we've got the fireweed. And what I did for this one, I actually sort of combined it conceptually with the frostweed because they're both really similar. So the fireweed is not edible, at least according to the game, because what you use it for is just lighting torches. You set the fireweed on fire and it just stays on fire for a long time. That tells me there's some like oil or something that comes out of the bark of this thing that lets it ignite really easily. But then we've also got the frostweed, which is consumable. Oh, it's down here. The frostweed is consumable because we feed that to a mammoth in the snowy area. So theoretically, these are edible. Would they be nice to eat? Probably not. Because again, what I'm seeing between this little icon and between the picture of the fireweed is that we're dealing with basically a cluster of sticks. So I'm gonna say eating this is probably not, but putting it in my mouth, yeah, I totally would, because I want to feel my teeth sink into a stick. Does that make sense? I want to feel. I'm trying so hard not to make a direct wood to mouth reference right now. You have no idea how hard this is for me, but I want to feel my teeth sink in to a stick, into like bark, into wood. I feel like that would be really satisfying. Would it be pleasant? Probably not, because I'm just imagining getting like splinters in my mouth. So I'm gonna say unpleasant. It's not dangerous, but I'm gonna say unpleasant, but still, yeah, I would put this in my mouth. Next up, we're looking at the fuel cell. Okay, this one I actually do need to do some research on, because what I'd like to know is, so I'll pull up this picture so you can see it a little bigger. I think this is actually, oh no, it's not the same picture. Either way, the thing looks the same. The fuel cell itself, is the fuel cell the little sparky part in the middle, or is it the whole ball? Because if it's the whole ball, I do need to know what that, how do I word this without getting clipped out of context? I want, bite the bullet. I want to feel what the ball feels like in my, okay, you know what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to finish that. I'm not going to finish the whole sentence because I'm not going to do that to myself. But you understand what I'm driving at. If this feels like something, if the actual ball part is something, I do want to know what that feels like. Now, it is 100% dangerous because it is, hold on, where does it say this? Their purpose is to power up Fox's R-Wing. Basically, they're spaceship fuel. So it's 100% toxic in some way. It's either, what I've always thought about these things is that these should be in a battery. That was like my headcanon when I was a kid. These themselves, you don't just plop them in the R-Wing, at least as far as I'm aware. They would have to go into something. So to me, this is like the chemical core of a battery, for like the closest thing I can compare it to, I mean. So I want to know what it feels like, but it'll probably taste really bad. I'm picturing like how a 9-volt battery kind of shocks your tongue, but like probably worse. So unquestionably, yes, I would put it in my mouth, but this thing is probably gonna kill me. Next up, and I actually have two graphics for this for some reason. I didn't intend to do that. This one doesn't really show what it is. This just looks like butter, but we're talking about gold bars. So these you kind of just find, they're somebody's treasure. There's nothing more to them than that. They are literally just a gold bar, like Fort Knox ass gold bars. So, okay. We're gonna come back to this kind of topic a few times because there's a bunch of gold stuff. I mean, I can see like 3 right here. But for me, if we're talking about pure gold, gold is a very malleable metal. Like, it's very soft. And my thing is, I do want to feel if I can sink my teeth into pure enough gold. If it's soft enough that I can feel it give under my teeth, just saying that is making me like, I really want to do that. I don't know what that is. I don't know if I've got something wrong with my brain, but I really want that. So I'm gonna say absolutely would, with the understanding that I'm not talking about eating this. I would not eat a piece. Well, no, you can eat gold, can't you? Because like there's that alcohol that has gold in it, and you can eat gold leaf. So, okay, I wouldn't like take a chunk out of a gold bar and eat that, but like I do want to. I want to mouthfeel it more than anything else. That is so weird to say out loud. I'm just gonna move this to the very end of the list because we don't really need it anymore. Next up, we've got a key. Now, there are like a whole bunch of keys, but I'm just gonna talk about the keys together collectively because a key is a key. It doesn't really matter what it's made out of. A key is a key. And I'm gonna say absolutely not for a key, but not because of the thing itself. In my mind, when I think of a key, I'm thinking of this is something some dude has been holding forever and they've got to like put their hands on it to manipulate the lock and whatever. And for me, the consideration that goes into this more than what the key is itself is who's been touching it and how dirty are their hands. Because a little bit of lore about me, I'm kind of a germaphobe. And I say kind of, but I mean like majorly. So I don't want to put my mouth on something that someone or multiple people have been feeling up for like ages before I get to it. So no, absolutely not. But not because of the thing itself, because of the situation surrounding it. Next up, we've got Bafomdads. These are red, rabbit-like magical creatures whose powers can restore life. These things are explicitly alive. They are four-eared rabbit things. And I'm gonna put a clip on screen right now. These dudes are alive. You don't just come across like a static model of these things. They're jumping around and stuff. This is a little creature that you can take with you. Think sort of like in Twilight Princess, how you can get the Uku guy. It's basically like that, except this is much cuter than Uku is. I'm not gonna lie, Uku is kind of disgusting. I'm not trying to body shame Uku, but there's something wrong with that thing, man. Anyway, so here's my thing. I'm the kind of person who like, if I think about where my food comes from for too long, like if I think about beef, for example, or I think about chicken or pork or whatever, if I think too hard about that, I start feeling really bad. Like I'm not vegan, I'm not vegetarian even necessarily. I like to avoid red meat where I can, but I get really sad if I think about it too much. This is an actual living being. This is not processed food. This is just a living being. So I'm gonna say absolutely not. I don't want to put this thing in my mouth. I don't want to put a living being in my mouth, at least not in that way. What? So we're leaving it that. We're gonna move on. So next up, I'm kind of gonna cheat again. We've got two different kinds of mushrooms, although they're very similar. So we've got blue grub tub and white grub tub. The blue one is basically just a box standard food item that your sidekick eats throughout the game, and the white grub tub is a medicine version of that standard food that you give to another Triceratops. So here's my consideration with mushrooms, okay? Subjectively, this is totally subjective. I don't like mushrooms. Not because I don't like how they taste, but because I was traumatized by mushrooms. That is a weird sentence to say, but it's true. I was really sick. I ate sauteed mushrooms. I threw up violently, but not because of the mushrooms, because I was sick. But my brain made the connection between mushroom equals violent vomiting. So now I can't eat mushrooms anymore. So for me, at best, these are going to be going into unpleasant. Not dangerous, just unpleasant. My consideration here is one of these being medicinal tells me it's somewhat different chemically than the just food item one. So the food item one, I'm going to put in unpleasant or dangerous, but I would put it in my mouth. And let me explain why. When you find these things, they're semi-alive, I guess, which is weird. But they jump around and they squish and they sound bouncy almost. So what I want to do is I want to feel the mouthfeel of that. I want to like chew on it. You know what I mean? I want to see how much it gives before you can sort of like split into it. Kind of similar to the alpine root in terms of like, I want to feel my teeth slice through it, if that makes sense. The white one, I'm just not interested in, because when you take the fact that it's a mushroom plus the fact that it has some medicinal property, I'm feeling like that might be a bad idea because a lot of mushrooms are poisonous and I don't really want to take that risk. So that's where those two are going to live, but that's really subjective. Next, we're talking about the bomb spore. Now, I'm only going to talk about the spore and not the plant, because the plant is not actually the item that you get. When you shoot a bomb plant, which is this game's equivalent of like typical adventure game bombs, like you use them to take out walls or take out the floor or whatever you need to do. Basically, when you shoot the bomb plant, in some cases, you get the bomb spores. This is basically just a plant matter thing that floats out of the plant itself. Hence, I mean, it's called a spore, right? So when I think of spore, I immediately think of either fungus or I think of pollen. Both of which are problems for me because, a little bit more lore about me, I'm allergic to like everything. Like, I'm allergic to outside. So if I see this and the question is, would I put it in my mouth? The answer is no, absolutely not. Because to me, that just screams allergies and I don't want anything to do with that. So that's pretty cut and dry. I mean, if we were looking at it as just an object itself, even then it's not really interesting. I mean, well, it kind of looks suggestive, actually. You know, I'm getting this off the screen. That looks like something you would put in the other end of your body. We're moving on. This is weird. I'm looking at the next few that we're going to be talking about, and I don't think I'm going to be overly tempted to put any of these in my mouth. So next we're going to be talking about the Cloud Runner flute. So to be blunt, this thing is just a musical instrument. Like, there's really not that much to talk about here. It's just a shaped piece of something that makes music. So I guess the easiest thing to compare it to would be like a ceramic ocarina or something like that. So I'm not tempted to put this in my mouth. I mean, it says it's seashell-like, which means it could even be brittle, which means if that thing falls apart while it's in your mouth, it's gonna be all shards and stuff. So at best, I would say dangerous or unpleasant, but I don't really even have any interest in that. So that's going into no interest. That's a pretty easy one. Bridge cog. C-O-G. Cog. Not cock. Cog. If we were talking about, no. Okay, this is just a shaped piece of metal. It doesn't even say what kind of metal. Here's my problem. Two things wrong with this. One, look at how sharp those edges are on the teeth of it's supposed to be like a gear, right? But look at how sharp those teeth are. You're gonna slice your mouth open on those. That's like, it's the worst part of like Captain Crunch cereal. You like slice the roof of your mouth. Actually, I've got hard candies right next to my desk. Every time I eat one, that happens. And I'm bleeding from the top of my mouth for like 10 minutes. Drives me nuts. But also, look at this thing. It's rusty. It's gross. It's not even new metal. It's not shiny. It's worn and it's rusted. And I'm not feeling slicing my mouth and then having rust in there and getting like tetanus or something. So absolutely not. It's not even no interest. This is a no, because I do not want a medical problem stemming from something I put in my mouth. Next up, we're talking about Crystal's staff. I almost said Crystal's shaft. Crystal's staff. It's the main weapon you use in this game. And basically, it's just a metal stick. It doesn't actually look like this. It's a grower. It collapses into itself. It gets long. Hold on, let me find a better picture. This is what it looks like when you first find it. So it's obviously got magical properties, but the game nor this wiki never says what it's actually made of. It says gold, but I think that means more in terms of its color. Because if this thing was actually gold, it would smack off of something once and either bend or break. So it's not actually gold. So I can't come at it from that standpoint. I don't know what it's made out of, but that doesn't really matter because I'm not at all tempted to put this thing in my mouth. So I think we've got another no interest. I'm actually surprised how many of these we've got. Am I an actual function? You know what? We're probably gonna get another no interest. This is the dinosaur horn. This is something you use to call the mammoth guys in the snow area. It's just another musical instrument. Even during, again, like the Cloud Runner flute, during regular gameplay, I did not have any temptation to mouth this thing, so no interest. I might not be as much of a degenerate as I thought. This is actually surprising. All right, now we are just literally talking about food. I'm actually gonna cheat again and I'm gonna rearrange this. I'm gonna put these next to these. So the first one we're talking about, these ones here, these are called Dumbledang pods. Now, I don't exactly know what these ones are, actually. I haven't looked into this at all, but these and the other ones, these things, these are both outright consumables. Like, the game, it doesn't outright tell you that Fox eats these, but they're designed to be your health recovery, so like, we can assume, right? So Double Dang Pods are a type of recovery item. They are delicious fruits, only found on Dinosaur Planet. Their appearance is lime green in color, and they have orange. That does not look lime green to me, but okay. They strongly resemble the real-world cocoa bean. So I'm going to assume the same thing as the alpine root, kind of. If it's designed to look like a real-life thing, chances are it's just supposed to be that real-life thing. So Double Dang Pods in this case are probably cocoa beans, or at the very least some kind of fruit or possibly even nut. So for me, yeah, absolutely would. I was about to say I love eating, like, you know, but I'm not going to say that because in this video already I've said like 13 things that someone could clip out of context, and I'm not going to do that to myself anymore. Okay, next up are puck eggs, I think these are called. Yeah. So these are just eggs. Now, I'm a little bit uncultured in real life. I've eaten eggs, like I think everybody's eaten eggs, but I haven't eaten like quail eggs or anything like that. I have just eaten like chicken eggs. So if these are different than chicken eggs, which they look different than, I don't know what they're going to taste like. In my mind, in my ignorant mind, an egg is an egg. So with the right preparation, I would put this in my mouth. Now, unprepared, just a raw ass egg in its shell, would I put that in my mouth? Yeah, I mean, you know what? Yeah, actually, I probably would. You know why? Because I would like to just once, because it would probably be gross, I would like to just once bite into a raw egg, just to feel the shell crack kind of thing. I'm big on the sensory part of it. I don't know, maybe I'm weird, I know, but like just once I want to do that. And it's not going to kill you. Yeah, there's a chance of raw egg, whatever you get from that, but it's such a low chance. I don't care, man. I totally would. Okay, this next one, you're gonna have to bear with me for a second. It looks like just a magical green orb of something, but it's actually supposed to be a firefly. You wouldn't believe stop. I am going to prestige myself. So it's a firefly. The game never actually shows you what the firefly looks like, because for all intents and purposes, for game purposes, that is a horrible picture, but this is all you need to see. All they're used for in game is like just a little lantern glowy thing that hangs over your head to light up dark spaces. So they don't really need to show the bug. But to be clear, as far as I understand it, this is still supposed to be the bug. I don't believe it is like anything different than what we know a firefly to be, so we're just gonna talk about it as if it were a bug. As much as fireflies are one of the few bugs that I have tolerance for, this is going in absolutely not, because I am not putting a live bug in my mouth. Basically, I'm not putting a live anything in my mouth, but especially not a bug, because bugs freak me out, so that's just how that's gonna be. Next up, we've got the fire gem. So the fire gem itself looks like this, but this is what it actually looks like in the game. Like when you pull it out, not when you pull it out, when you're holding it, when you get it, this is what it looks like. So I guess we'll start with just the gem portion of it. We'll touch on the fire part in a sec, but for right now, let's just look at it as a gem. So gemstones, do they taste like anything? I don't know if gemstones okay, I'm gonna dox myself a little bit. I have an earring in real life. It's a diamond earring. Should I take it out so I can taste the diamond just to see if gemstones have a taste? I'm doing it, screw it. Okay, I guess I just... Okay, gonna be real, I'm gonna put this on my mouse pad and pray I don't lose it. Gonna be real with you, that doesn't really taste like anything. If anything, it maybe just tastes like shampoo residue that's on there. That's disgusting. Okay, so it doesn't have a taste, but what we need to consider is that this thing has magical properties. It is constantly on fire. So the fire itself is gonna be a problem, but I have a thing where I want to taste magic. I realize that is a sentence that is like really, really screwed up, but I want to taste magic. So that in mind, despite the fact that I'm going to get 3rd or 2nd degree burns from this thing, I'm gonna say yes, I would put this in my mouth, or I would at least try to taste it. I don't know that I could fit it in my mouth just based on the size of it, but I would absolutely want to at least taste it, because if there's a chance I can taste magic, I'm gonna do it. Okay, Snowhorn Artifact. This thing is just supposed to be a gold version of the regular Alpine root. The problem I had coming into this is I didn't know if this thing was actually supposed to be food or not. So I went into the wiki and read the entire article, but it also doesn't specify whether it's supposed to be food or not. So I'm going to assume, because of what we see in the game, we actually give it back to this guy, but he does not eat it. He's the same species that would normally eat the regular alpine roots if given the opportunity, but he does not eat it. So I'm going to assume that this thing is not edible. Does that change my answer? No, because for the same reason as a gold bar, I would put this gold thing in my mouth. If it's edible, then I'd ingest it. But if it's not edible, then I just want to feel the gold on my teeth. So it doesn't really change the answer anyway. I kind of cheated for this next one too. This is the gold red-eye tooth, but there's actually two different sacred red-eye teeth. There's the gold one and the silver one. My answer does not change for either of these because again, we're just talking about a precious metal. It's just shaped a different way. Unless this is something's actual tooth. If it's something's actual tooth, that goes into absolutely not. But I'm assuming because it acts like a key, hold on, here. Because it acts like a key for something, I'm going to assume it's just an ornamental thing. It's not actually something's tooth, it's just a shaped piece of precious metal. So for the gold and the silver, my answer is the same. I want to see if I can crush that with my teeth. Probably not for the silver one, because I think silver's a harder metal, but I would still absolutely put it in my mouth. Okay, this video is going a little longer than I wanted it to, I'm gonna be honest, but I have to yap a little bit about the next thing. The next thing is the Krazoa spirits. Now, I wasn't sure if I should really count these as an item, because you don't really get them in your inventory, but they are something you have to take with you for extended periods of the game. Plus, they are on the item list, so I'll include them, why not? So this goes back to the Krazoa spirits are actual, like, I don't know if they're ghosts, I don't know if they're just incorporeal higher beings, I don't know. This is also not really what they look like. Let me see if there's let me see if there is a better picture. Yeah, here. So this is what they look like in game. They're glowy, they're ghosty, they're weird, and they make weird sounds, and look at the tentacles. I need it. I need to put it in my mouth. I don't know what it is. Okay, it says they're like ancient beings, so it's possible that we're not even talking about ghosts, we're just possibly talking about like non-corporeal entities, but I need that entity in my mouth. I want to know what it tastes like, I want to know what it feels like in my mouth, I want to know if you can chew it. There's so many unknowns that even if it's something that's going to hurt me, and we don't know that it will, I have to find out. So I need to be a pioneer, I need to shove a Krazoa spirit in my mouth, that's just the way it has to be. Forgive me for the bad picture for this one. I didn't know whether to use a picture that had all three of them or just use a picture that had one of them like this, but these are light gems. So these are something central to the Cloud Runner's power generation system, which tells me that these gems actually supply the power, because the situation is when those gems are taken out, the power to the fortress is gone. So these things have some inherent energy to them. This makes me think of a Chaos Emerald. A Chaos Emerald is something that I have wanted to put in my mouth since I was like 6 years old. So why am I looking at the Lilat system? I thought I was going to look at the other colors of gems. Oh, there we go. These come in green, orange, and white. I'm not going to speculate on flavor because really that's secondary. What's important to me is the fact that somehow these things inherently provide energy, and that tells me they're going to taste like something. I don't know. If there's subtle differences, like we've got a, I don't know, like a lime one, orange flavored, and a white freezy flavored, sure, great. But the answer is yes, I would put them in my mouth more because of what they do rather than what they might taste like. So yes, absolutely, I would put those in my mouth. Could they be dangerous because they provide power? Maybe, but they don't say that in their description, so I'm gonna say absolutely would. What do you mean I ran out of time and had to do a new recording session later in the same day? You're crazy. You're crazy. Okay, so next we are talking about the moon seed. So the moon seed is legitimately just like a plant seed, but instead of requiring water, it requires you to set it on fire to turn it into this like fern type viney plant that you can use to climb walls. So what I'm seeing here is this is just a plant seed. So to me, yes, I would put this in my mouth and I would probably eat it because I like plant seeds. I like eating seeds and nuts and stuff like that. So I can't assume it's dangerous because the wiki doesn't say it's dangerous. So I'm not going to make that assumption. We'll just leave it at that. I'm not going to read too far into it. It's just a seed. So yeah, for sure I'd eat this thing. I've rearranged things again because next we're talking about another set of items, and they're considered by the game and the wiki to be like almost the same thing, but they're different to me. I have a different answer for both of these. So we're talking about the sun and moon stones. Sun, moon, respectively. I'll bring it up. Sunstone, moonstone. The wiki does not say anything about what these things are made of. They don't quite look gold. Well, maybe they do. Maybe it's just a weird lighting situation. They look more brass to me. I don't know what they're made of. I can't assume the composition of it, but I can assume metal of some kind and something else on the moonstone to make this blue part. So the reason I'm saying there's two different answers here is because the sunstone, look at this thing. It looks dangerous. It looks like a saw blade. I do not want this in my mouth. Not because I don't want to try it, but because I know that if I do try to put this thing in my mouth, I'm gonna rip apart the roof of my mouth on these little spikes, and it's gonna be awful. You know what? It's kind of the same reasoning as this, as the bridge cog. I don't want spiky things tearing up the roof of my mouth. With the bridge cog though, you had the added rust factor. On this, you don't have that. So for the sunstone, it's more of a disinterest thing rather than a, I'm repulsed by this and it will probably give me an infection. The moonstone though is a different story. So it's probably the same base metal. This brownish gold yellow part is probably the same composition as the sunstone. What's different is this blue part. And the reason that fascinates me is because when I saw it originally, it made me think of icing on a cake. So that gives me the overwhelming urge to taste it. I know it's not icing. I know it's probably just more metal, but I need mouth confirmation of this. So this one I'm saying I would put in my mouth, and I'm not even gonna say it's unpleasant or dangerous because it doesn't have the spikes on it. If we didn't have the spikes on the sunstone, I would have probably considered them basically the same item, and it would also probably go in my mouth. But the way they are, that's what it's gonna be. Okay, remember how I said a key is a key and the answer doesn't really change? Well, I kind of lied a little bit. This is the power room key. This is a special type of key in my mind because it doesn't look like a traditional key. This thing, when you get it, I don't know if I'm the only one who thinks like this, but it looks more like a gem than a key, right? It looks almost crystalline of some kind. It doesn't look metal, so I have a different answer here. This one I would put in my mouth. Yes, it is just a key, so I would kind of assume the same thing. I would assume someone's hands have been all over it, making it kind of gross. So I'm gonna say unpleasant, because there's a non-zero chance that I get someone's dinosaur hand sweat all over my mouth. Although, you know what, it could kind of be dangerous too anyway, because that spike, if you try to put that thing in your mouth, you're gonna stab the back of your throat. So, you know, it belongs there. It's not a traditional key like this, where it'd just be kind of gross and taste like nickels anyway, but it is still dangerous in its own right because you could stab yourself in the uvula. That's a weird sentence. I know I said it was my passing comments about wanting to eat some of the items in this game that set me on the path to making this video, but there is a precursor to that, and it's because of this item. This is the rock candy, and honestly, this is probably the first example of I want to put this video game item in my mouth that I ever had. Even as a kid, I was curious about what this tastes like because in the game, you give this thing to a big stone dude. Now, this thing is just a rock, right? But the stone dude is like, oh my god, this tastes delicious, and it actually makes him want to help you. And what also stacks in its favor is that the wiki categorizes it as food. Now, I realize the wiki is not the primary source here, but someone eats it in the game and it's marketed as candy. It's marketed as a food. The game literally calls it a rock candy. Yeah, I want to put this thing in my mouth. The question is, would it be considered dangerous? Because this one, you are just eating a rock. Now, I guess you could look at it as just because it's food doesn't mean I have to actually ingest it. So if that's the case, I would probably say, yeah, absolutely would. Because I gotta know what this thing tastes like. I need to. Going back as far as when I was a fetus, I need to know what this thing tastes like. And yes, I'd probably break my teeth, or I could just tank it like Link in Tears of the Kingdom does, but I need to. I need to know. This is gonna be the quickest absolutely not in this video, and I don't even need to open up the wiki to give more information, but for the sake of you guys, I'm gonna open it up so you can get a clearer picture of this thing. This is a scarab. This is this game's currency. This is your money. These things are alive. You literally find them living under rocks. They are just bugs. So not only is it a bug, it's also currency. It has the worst of this and also this working for it. So no, absolutely not. It's money, so it's dirty, it's gross, but also it's bugs and it's alive. No, absolutely not. No. Next, we've got another one that I don't really need to dig into too far to give you your answer. So this is Tricky's ball. For those who are unfamiliar with this game, this is Tricky. Tricky is your sidekick in this game. He's a little triceratops dude, basically acts like a little dog. You can give him commands that help you solve puzzles, and he's also the one who can light things on fire, like with the moon seeds and stuff. You get his ball so you can play with him. Now, most of this wiki article is talking about how the ball lets you change Tricky's color. It doesn't really give much information about the object itself. Here's my thoughts. Don't get me wrong, I love pretty much any pet. I love pretty much any animal, minus bugs, but I'm not gonna put a used saliva-filled ball in my mouth, so I'm kind of torn between whether to put this in no interest or absolutely not, because it's kind of gross either way. I'm gonna say no interest, because like, it's just saliva. It's not really a problem. It's just, I'd like to avoid it if I can. You know what I mean? Could I just go on a really quick side tangent for a second? The little icon with Fox saying go get it on the Tricky's ball page is hilarious. And also Tricky's thing just saying let's play. Bro is literally just Ray Narvaez Jr. Okay, this one's really difficult to see, so I'm just going to immediately take you to the wiki page. These are wooden blocks that basically act as the solution to a little puzzle, if you can even call it that. But they're just wooden blocks. There's a few different shapes you can get, but they're functionally all the same. Would I put these in my mouth? Yes, but not because of what they are. It's because of what I thought they were when I was a kid. I thought that these were cork, and I think I might have even said that during the Let's Play. And I don't know if you've ever done this, taken the cork out of like a wine bottle or something and just chewed on it. Cork is so satisfying to chew on. Now, I know these are wood. I know they're not supposed to be cork, but I can't get that image or feeling out of my head, so I have to say absolutely would because of what I think they are, because of what they are to me. If I was talking about just a block of wood, I probably would say no interest, but because of what these represent in my mind subjectively, this is where they have to live. If you have never chewed on a cork before, please try it. Don't choke on the fucking cork, please, but just chew on it. It'll change your life, dude. So I kind of cheated again because I want to talk about the spell stones last. So first we are going to talk about the staff energy gems. Now these come in a bunch of different colors, but for all intents and purposes, I'm going to say they're basically the same. I don't even know that this has, yeah, the wiki page doesn't even have the different colors of them. I'll show on screen what different colors they come in, but either way, these are used to recharge your magic for your staff. So these little things are inherently magical. They come off of little plants, so maybe they're somewhat organic too. Not that this matters. This is a definitely wood. They're small enough, I think, that you could probably just shove one in there, and I don't know that I would try to crunch it, right? Because it's a gem, so it could like crack apart and then it's dangerous, but I want to know what it tastes like, and kind of similar to the power gems, if they have some magical component to them, I gotta know what that tastes like. So 100% for sure, would put these in my mouth. I don't know about eat. If they're small enough, I might purposely swallow it just to see what happens, but I don't know about crunching into them because that would probably be bad for my entire digestive system. And finally, we get to the item that I have wanted to talk about for the entirety of this video. We're talking about the spell stones. Now, for those unfamiliar, these are basically the MacGuffin for this game. They're the things you need to collect to complete the game. sort of. When I was a kid, I thought these things were just magic rocks, but they're not. They're not organic, they're not just naturally occurring magical objects, which is a weird sentence to say, but they were made by the Krazoa, by the dudes who I would also eat, which is another weird sentence to say. Now, I won't go too much further into the lore. The important thing you need to see is this. This is why I want to eat these things. They may not be magical in lore, but you can't look at this and tell me you're not curious what that tastes like. Now, there are two varieties of spellstones. There's the water one. I don't know why these pictures are so dark. There's the water one and the fire one. They don't actually animate like this in the game, at least I don't think they do, but the implication is that the pendant part, the middle part, is the energy magical part, and I have to taste that. I need to know what that tastes like. The outer stone portion, probably just a rock. Probably nothing fancy. It's the inside I need to taste or eat or something. They actually kind of make me think of something jelly-filled or like gummy-filled, because the inside looks more like candy to me, whereas the outside just kind of looks like a container. So either way, regardless how you look at it, I gotta taste these things. I'm not going to try to eat them. They are rocks. I'm not going to try and pass rocks through my digestive system, but I do need to know what they taste like. So that's where they live, and they have always lived there. Since I was a kid, I have wanted to know what they taste like. And that is basically gonna be it. Again, we didn't go through every item in Star Fox Adventures, or at least not the ones that are listed on the wiki, because some of them are just like waste of time to talk about. The maps. I'm not gonna eat a piece of paper. No, I might actually eat a piece of paper. I think I've actually done that before. But like stuff that doesn't really warrant a conversation, like stuff like containers for other things, or like the high def display device, that's just binoculars. I wouldn't, because I can't, right? I mean, I could put it in my mouth, but I couldn't eat it. So there's not a lot really to talk about there. So of the stuff that is actually applicable, this is our finished list. And I've got to say, I'm actually impressed with myself. I was thinking that I was going to have like nothing in the absolutely not category. So the fact that there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the fact that there's 7 things there tells me that I have 7 items worth of actual standards. I learned something about myself. This is a good thing. I'm still a degenerate because there's so much that I would put in my mouth, but there's some that I wouldn't. So that says something good, right? Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. This went on a lot longer than I thought it was going to, but I did have a lot of fun doing this. I don't think I've ever done something that's just like stream of consciousness where I don't have to worry about doing something else in the background. So I had a lot of fun doing this. I enjoyed this. If you want to see something else like this, let me know in the comments. Leave whatever type of tier list idea you have, because I'm definitely open to doing this again. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in whatever I decide to do next. Later.